For the record, I'm done trying to make y'all comfortable. For the record, lab on me going all the way. For the record, ain't trying to link, no time to waste. For the record, for the record.
How's it going, everybody? Dylan K. Johnson here. Welcome to the video. Now, we're going to go over a quick overview of last week's training, and we're actually going to start off by going over my previous 1-rep maxes. So, what you're going to see on the screen right now is my 1-rep max attempts just before I started this new training cycle. So you can see I started off with basically a mock meet back when I still had my membership over at Peak, and we started off with squat. I worked my way up to a single at 365 pounds. Once I finished that, then I moved over onto bench, and then I started working my way up to a single there. Now with squat, it was pretty easy. Probably could have gone up another 10, 15, maybe even 20 pounds, but I wanted to leave it at 365, and I didn't want to push myself too much, go crazy, hurt myself right before starting a new training cycle. So into bench, worked up to a nice single, pretty solid, pretty easy again at 225. And again, there wasn't too many people there, so I didn't really want to grab a spot or anything. Didn't want to go crazy. Probably could have gone up another, definitely could have gone up another 10 pounds at least, if not a little bit more. But as I said before, leaving it 225, gonna call that my current 1-rep max. Now after that, then we moved into deadlifts. And deadlifts worked up to a heavy single conventional at 405. Now this one was pretty damn close to being a true 1-rep max. I might have been able to throw on another 5-10 pounds and hit that, but it was pretty close to a true 1-rep max. So that puts my totals at 365 for squat, 225 for bench, and 405 for deadlift, conventional, might I add. So with that being said, we'll have to retest this in about 12 weeks once I'm finished with this new training cycle, and we'll see kind of where my strength is at. With this training cycle, I'm going to be actually in a caloric surplus ever so slightly throughout the entire duration. That's at least my kind of my plan. And we're going to be trying to put on a little bit more weight. So right now I'm sitting at around 166 to maybe 170 on a heavy day, but usually right around 166 to 167 is kind of my current body weight. By the end of these 12 weeks, so in 3 months, I'm looking to put on between 5 to 8 pounds, so about half a pound a week at the most. And if anything, maybe even just stay right around 170. Kind of that's my targeted weight. But with that being said, my goals for my numbers are to work my squat up to about a 405. And again, this is more of like a kind of stretch goal. I'm not sure that I'll be able to hit this in this short of a time period. We'll have to see. But my squat goal is going to be 405 for one. My bench is going to be 275. That's what my previous 1-rep max that I've hit all-time PR is 265, so I'd like to break that, get up to 275. 50 pounds on my bench in 3 months, that's a bit much, but we'll have to see. Hopefully I can do it. And finally, my deadlift goal, stretch goal, is 495. And with that one, more than likely, realistically, I'll be closer to like 445, 455 is kind of my more realistic goal. But like I said, those are my stretch goals, what I'd love to be able to hit basically by the end of the year. That's about the time that I finish this training cycle. So we'll have to see. I'll probably end up testing my 1-rep maxes like either New Year's Day or the 1st of next year, and we'll see where we're at. Kind of put us at a nice starting spot for the next year. We're gonna jump straight into a review of this past week's program. Now with this, I'm gonna talk a little bit about what my style of training is and what it's gonna be based around. And this is gonna be a conjugate style of program, meaning that we're gonna have 2 maximum effort days during the week where we're working up to a heavy single, a heavy triple, or a heavy 5-rep max. And then we're gonna drop that down and do dynamic effort days later in the week where we're working on maybe like 40 to 60% of our 1-rep max with accommodating resistance, where we're going to be focusing more on speed work. So we're gonna be keeping the reps pretty low with that, between 1 to 3, maybe 4 max, but ideally probably around 1, 2, or 3 reps. And we're gonna be focusing on quickly moving the weight. basically moving the weight as quickly as possible, that speed portion of the work, with accommodating resistance from bands or chains. Now for me right now, I only have bands, so that's what we're going to be focusing on, is band work for my speed work. And then during my maximum effort days, depending on the movement, I'll be throwing bands on as well to again increase that accommodating resistance and increase the intensity of each lift. Now, moving on, day one, this is going to be a maximum effort lower body day. And the way I'm currently structuring my program is every other week, I'm alternating between a deadlift variation and a squat variation for my maximum effort lower body days. And then every other week, I'm alternating between a bench press variation and an overhead press variation for my upper body days. Moving into week one, day one, this is, like I said, a maximum effort lower body day, and the variation is going to be a variation of a deadlift. This day I chose deficit deadlifts. So we're going to be working off about 1.5 inch, 2 inch deficit, and we're going to be including accommodating resistance in order to increase the intensity and increase the resistance at lockout of the movement. So for this day, we're going to be working up to a heavy 3 rep max and then dropping down for volume at 80% of that 3 rep max that we achieve. Now, again, I'm doing deficit deadlifts and I'm including some bands onto the bar. So that's going to increase the accommodating resistance. And what the bands are going to do is as I get to the lockout, you're going to start adding and increasing the resistance on the bar. Basically, the bands are like giant rubber bands. As you stretch them, they're going to want to try and snap back into place, meaning that they're going to add more weight to the bar, especially the further you stretch them or the closer you get to lockout, meaning that the bar is just going to want to rip out of my hands. Now, with the bands added on, I didn't write down exactly how much resistance they added, but I believe, if I remember right, it was around 45 pounds per side, which means I've added a total of 90 pounds of additional resistance at lockout. And with those bands, I worked up to a 3 rep max with a deficit deadlift at 325 pounds plus those black bands on either side. So from that, I then dropped the weight down to 80% of that, which was about 260 pounds, kept the bands on there, and then I started doing some volume work, which first set was going to be an AMRAP set, so as many reps as I could possibly get. I think I got 10. And then we dropped the reps down to 2 more sets at 8 reps per set, keeping the rest period right around 90 seconds. So not letting ourselves rest too long, but still ensuring we're able to rest enough to recover maximal amount of strength. And that was pretty much the main compound for day one. As I mentioned, I did a little bit of other work, some more conditioning stuff, a little bit of accessory movements, but I'm not going to be covering that too much in this first week here because my main focus is going to be on the main movement variations. So on to day 2, this was a maximum effort upper body day, and with this one, the variation was a floor press. Now with floor press, this is one of those ones where you can't very easily add accommodating resistance unless you're using chains, and as I said, I don't have chains, so I ended up not really incorporating bands into it and just focusing on loading up the movement as heavy as possible. Again, we were working up to a heavy 3 rep max, which today I ended up working up to a heavy 3 rep max of 185 pounds. Now again, backing off of that to 80% of that, which is about 150 pounds, and I hit an AMRAP for the first set, and then I hit 2 following sets at 8 reps per set with that 80% of the 3 rep max. For the AMRAP set, I managed to get 12 reps, and then I backed down, like I said, to 8 reps for 2 additional sets, about 90-second rest between sets. And with that, I also did, again, some more conditioning work, things like that, some accessory movements after that main lift as well. But like I said before, I'm not going to cover that in this video very much. Once we get down into like week 3 and so, that's when stuff is going to change a little bit, and that's when I'll be incorporating and going over more of my accessory and what I'm doing with that stuff. All right, now on to our dynamic effort days. So first dynamic effort day is going to be lower body. And as I might have mentioned before, with this, I'm not going to be doing variations of any movements. I'm going to be sticking to more of my competition style of lift. So I'm going to be starting off with squat, and then I'm going to move into deadlift for my lower body day. Upper body day, I'm going to be starting off with bench, 1, bench, bench, and then I'm gonna move into an overhead press. So that's kind of my dynamic effort days. With this, we're gonna be focusing on 50% of my 1 rep max for week 1, 55% of my 1 rep max week 2, and so on and so forth. And then we'll be dropping it back down as we move out of each wave, or every 4 weeks, we're gonna reset it back down to around 45 to 50%, work back up to around 65, 70%. Once we finish that, then we're moved back and down, and basically just trying to increase the weight every time we back down and cycle up. Hopefully that makes sense. It will once we get further into the cycle. But for this first dynamic effort day, and we hit 12 sets at 50% of my 1 rep max plus bands. Now the bands again are focusing on speed. They're gonna allow us to really focus on exploding out of the hole as we come up. The resistance is gonna get harder and harder and harder until we reach lockout. Now with this, it's a little bit tricky because typically what you should be doing is you should have a 1 rep max with the bands already set. So you should know, okay, with say the setup of red bands, I have a 1 rep max of say 300 pounds or 315 pounds, whatever it is. With these red bands and with the way that I have them set up, they add on about 50 to 60 pounds per side. So with that, I threw on 135 pounds on the bar, plus about 60 pounds per side, brought it up to what, like around 225, 245 pounds. So a little bit over 50% of my 1 rep max, which is okay, but that's kind of what I'm sitting at here. Now, I hit all 12 sets, like I said. Then after that, I rested about 2 minutes, and while I was changing everything out, moving over to deadlift, and then we hit deadlifts for 12 sets every minute on the minute at 3 reps at 50% of my 1 rep max plus the bands. So on this one, I was using, what was I using? About 140? No. With this one, I was using, again, 135. I threw on some purple bands, which this one, they aren't stretching as much, but again, measured them, and they're coming out to about 70 pounds each at peak. Basically, at the peak or at the lockout of the deadlift, they would measure and add on about 70 pounds each, so 140 pounds plus 135 pounds, 270-ish pounds roughly at lockout, which is a little bit, again, a little bit over 50%, which I was fine with. So hit that every minute on the minute. I was able to do that one. I didn't have to increase the rest period, and did that for 12 sets at 3 reps per set, focusing again on explosiveness, just blowing up out from the bottom of the movement, trying to push the world away as quickly as possible. One huge cue that I like to use with the deadlift is I like to think of pushing the world away. I don't like to think of lifting the weight. I'm basically trying to treat it like a leg press, because with leg press you can do 500, 600, 700 pounds pretty easily, but you can't squat 500 or 600, 700 pounds very easily, can you? So, at least I can't. I don't know about you guys, but maybe you can. If you can, cool. I want to get there too. But moving on, I'm rambling. So, hit that. Then that was pretty much it for that day. Did some assistance work after it. Then we move into day 4. Day 4, dynamic effort upper body day. We are doing the every minute on the minute, 3 reps, focusing on speed and explosiveness. We've got our accommodating resistance in the form of bands to ensure that we're working that lockout a little bit more, increasing the resistance curve as we hit lockout and as we peak. Now, on this one, same thing, 3 rep max, or not 3 rep max, but 3 reps every minute on the minute for 12 sets. Or 12 minutes, however you want to look at it. And we're doing 50% of our 1 rep max. With this one, I had 115 pounds on the bar plus the bands, and this was actually probably a little bit too heavy, if I recall. You can kind of judge it based on the speed here from the video. It is moving a little bit slower than I'd like to. Ideally, I want to be moving it doosh, 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 just extremely explosively, as quickly as possible, hitting that lockout super quick. We were trying to move it basically like from chest to lockout in less than a second. So it was moving all right, but I definitely was a little bit too heavy for this early in the training cycle. So I should have backed off the weight, but I was stubborn. I didn't want to. Yeah. Anyway, every minute on the minute, 12 sets, 3 reps per set, focusing on speed. Did that all right, then we moved into overhead press. Now, on the overhead press, I pretty much just did 65 pounds on the bar. My overhead press is not amazing. I didn't test it before I did this training cycle just because I wasn't thinking about it, but I'm guessing strict overhead press is probably like 135 one rep max. That's kind of what I've hit in the past, and based on my strength it hasn't increased or decreased much, so I'm gonna say my one rep max is right around 135 for a strict OHP. So working off of that, 65 pounds on the bar, plus the red band set up this way. They added on, it wasn't very much, it was like 25 pounds at lockout additionally. So this was pretty heavy. I mean, realistically, I probably should have just kept the bar weight plus the additional band resistance, but still managed to hit out every minute on the minute, 12 reps, or 12 sets for 3 reps, and that was pretty much the conclusion of week 1. So, that was a little bit loud, sorry. So yeah, week 1, everything went pretty smooth. Overall, really liking this training style. This is the first time that I've really done like conjugate-based programming. I have used accommodating resistance in the past. I've always enjoyed, especially using chains, which I'll be getting sometime in the next couple months to start incorporating. But overall, I'm really enjoying this style of training, really looking forward to where we're going to go in the future, and hopefully this video is not too long. It's probably going to be about a 25-minute video. I like to talk. But that's going to be covering this entire first week of the training cycle. Well, not even the entire week, so I also did some accessory movements, which I'm not talking about in this video. So I'm going to have to start breaking these down into like maybe maximum effort days and then dynamic effort days. I don't know. I'll see. We'll figure it out. But that's pretty much going to be it for today. So that's kind of my current update on my training cycle, what I'm kind of working through, what I'm doing, what my plans are. This is going to be about a 12-week block of training that I'm going to be working through, and then pretty much that'll put us like right at the end of the year, and from there we'll pretty much go again and test our 1 rep maxes, see where I'm at, and go on from there. If I really enjoy this style of training, I'll start incorporating it a little bit more, maybe run this cycle again with my new numbers, and yeah. Overall, I'm really enjoying it, mainly because of the maximum effort days. I really enjoy being able to push myself as hard as possible, and I also really enjoy being able to incorporate so much variation, because with this, it's designed around changing your primary compound movement every single time you're going for maximum effort, or basically as much weight as possible. You're changing up that movement, so it's just kind of fun to basically hit PRs almost every single week, because these are movements which I haven't done in ages, and I'm doing them and I'm able to move as much weight as I possibly can, and I'm basically moving more weight than I've ever moved before with these types of movements. So that's kind of where we're at. Really enjoying it so far. As I said, we're gonna keep going with this. We're gonna track the progress. You guys are gonna follow me along this journey, and as always, that's gonna be about it for today's video. Hope you guys have enjoyed, hope you guys have learned something, hope you've taken something away. If you have, don't forget to hit that like button. It definitely helps out, shows your support for the channel. Go ahead and subscribe if you want to keep track of the progress that we're going to do, blah, 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 blah. I don't know what I'm saying. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because we got more videos coming at you all the time. Gonna be doing a lot of good stuff soon. I've got some really nice review videos planned coming up, so hopefully you guys enjoy those along with this training stuff. But as always, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye.